having strong faith in whatever you're doing, more specifically in what I'm doing, is the sole reason why I'm still, pushing and growing official Black Wall Street. Because there were many, many, many days, even recently, where I was just like so distraught or so just tired. And that was the only thing that after I had already cried it out, or it always went back to, okay, this is what I have faith in. And I feel like this is my calling. Hey, this is Mandy Bowman, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 253 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. And today, our guest is Mandy Bowman, who's the founder and CEO of Official Black Wall Street, the largest app and digital platform that's helping consumers find, review, and support Black-owned businesses. We are going to dive into Mandy's story of how she built the app. But before that, we're going to talk about her early career and the journey into entrepreneurship for her. And I think you guys are going to enjoy this episode because, as many of you guys have known and experienced, 2020 has been a year that has really shed a light on why it is so important for us to buy Black and support Black-owned businesses. So I was really excited to have Mandy on the show to talk about her role in helping consumers do that. Since launching the platform in 2015 and the app in 2017, Mandy has really been at the forefront of the Buy Black movement, helping Black businesses around the world gain the exposure and resources they deserve. She's a Brooklyn native, and she is a fierce advocate for economics and ownership within the Black community. So we have a lot to learn from Mandy here today. Before we get into the episode, though, if you enjoy it, please make sure that you're sharing it on social. You can find us across the board, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dreams and Drive. And you can use the hashtag Dreams and Drive when sharing as well. If you want to get our weekly newsletter, The Keys, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join to sign up. And lastly, guys, if you want to support the show, there are multiple ways you can do that. You can go to www.dreamsanddrive.com/donate to become a Patreon supporter. Or if you want to buy merchandise, you can go to dreamsanddrive.com/shop to cop your own Dreams and Drive t-shirts or crew neck sweatshirts. All right, let's hear from Mandy. Hi, Mandy. Welcome to Dreams and Drive.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm super excited to talk to you. I feel like the stuff we're going to cover today is so relevant to the times that we're living in, right? And just talking about the importance of buying Black and creating legacy and wealth in our communities and just hearing your story, I'm so excited. So let us get started. My first thing, I love to have our guests go back in time, right? I know you grew up in Brooklyn, New York, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Tell me what was inspiring you as a kid. Like, what was the young Mandy up to? What did she think about the world?
The young Mandy, I was that kid who was just always into her books and kind of quiet, but pretty smart. I guess you can say I was like an academic little kid. So after school, I was probably doing homework. I was that kid that elected to do homework, or the kid that reminded the teacher to collect homework, and everyone got upset with. So that was me.
That is so funny. What was the dream for you as a kid? Like, what did you think you were going to be getting into? What was that thing that you're like, I want to be this when I grow up?
Oh my gosh, I wanted to be everything. I remember at one point I wanted to be a tennis player. I wanted to be an astronaut. But when I was in junior high school, that's when I was like, you know what? I knew that I wanted to be a singer and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I remember being in junior high school and making plans for like a clothing line that was some combination of beautiful and Black. The word together sounds so ugly. It was like Bulac or something like that, something completely hideous. But I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur and a singer.
Okay. So did that actually pan out for you, right? As you head into adolescent pre-college years, was that the plan going into college then?
Yeah, well, so things changed. Things changed a little bit. I went to performing arts high school and was like, I'm good on this. But I knew that I wanted to work on the business side of the music industry and be an entrepreneur. So I went into college thinking that was going to be my career. afterwards.
It's funny because, sometimes we have these like ideas, right? You said you want to be a singer, then you realize the actual singing wasn't for you. So you had to kind of pivot, right? What were the things that you were doing in college then? Or what about your college experience do you think prepared you or was preparing you to kind of go in and try to make this happen once you graduated?
There were a few things. For one, so I went to a business school. So I studied entrepreneurship and global business management. So that was already one thing. Two, the network that I created and the friend group that I created in college. I went to school in the Boston area. So I had friends from all different schools. A lot of them are still, very close to me. Some of them are even, have even helped me out with Official Black Wall Street in really dope ways. And so I would say just the people that I surrounded myself with when I was in college. And I went to a predominantly white institution. And so at one point I took a class about, I think it was African American history or African American music. And I learned so much about Black history that I was never taught before. And so that experience made me, after I graduated, I just wanted to learn as much as I could about Black history. And that was how I learned about Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that kind of opened the door up for Official Black Wall Street.
Isn't it crazy how much we aren't taught in school when you think about it?
So crazy. Mm-hmm. Even, when it comes to Black history, our history is so rich. From the time that we got here and even before that, there's just so much. And the focus is always on the same, Harriet Tubman and Martin Luther King. And I had no idea that there were just so, even with music and all these other different cultural things. So that and the things that you actually need to learn, like, no one taught me how to do my taxes. And I would have appreciated that.
Right?
Yeah, there's so much. Mm-hmm.
So I know that after college, you then went to work in the music industry. Like, all right, you put in this dream that you had into play. Did you enjoy it? You were at Atlantic, right?
It was an experience.
Okay.
So,
okay.
It was my dream job. And so I loved it. But the pay was nothing. Pay wasn't good. I think a lot of us always think that it's music and entertainment, so you're going to get paid big. And that's what I thought going into it. That's not the case. And it was just a lot of long hours and a lot of stress. So it was cool. It was a very cool job because you're surrounded by artists that, you get to, do different campaigns for, and you have these meetings with all these amazing moguls. But for me, I just felt like that was during the time when I was starting to work on Official Black Wall Street. And it just, everything that I was doing at work just paled in comparison to what I was doing at home. And so I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity because that was a dream job of mine for so long. So I'm grateful that I had a chance to check it off, my box and move on to the next thing earlier in my career.
What made you want to switch to then media? Because then you then went to work at Complex.
I just wanted something new.
Okay.
And I thought Complex was, it was just perfect timing. I was looking for a new job and then Complex came up and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's not necessarily in music, but it's still in entertainment. And I'll be, doing something different and I'll be a social strategist opposed to in digital marketing. So I was excited to move into the social space and to just do something different.
Okay. Were you nervous about that pivot, right? Because I think sometimes when we have these big ideas, we have these big dreams, and you realize like it's not cracked up to what you wanted it to be. Was there any hesitation or what was going on in your mind? I know you were excited to do something new, but was there anything else there as well?
Yeah. One thing in particular, I remember being really nervous because I had been looking for a new position for a minute at that point. And I remember getting very far with Complex and getting an offer. And I remember being afraid because I was like, I want to ask for more money because I feel like I should get more money. But I was so nervous about asking. And I have an aunt who works in human resources. And I called her and I was like, okay, I got this new, job offer and I really want to do it, but I'm afraid if I ask them for money, they're going to be like, no, thank you. On to the next person. And And she was like, no, the worst that they can do is say no. And then you go back to the original offer.
Mm-hmm.
But she was like, usually when it comes to Black and Hispanic women, we usually just don't ask for more. But she was like, white men or men, period, will walk into any position that they don't qualify for and still ask for the most. You know, they're just that bold. So she was like, go ahead and ask. And she gave me the script and everything. And I ended up getting the little bump that I wanted.
Yes.
So, yeah. So that was definitely a good experience and a good lesson.
You know, I learned that lesson by eavesdropping one time. I remember when I used to work full time, I remember hearing one of somebody who was in a higher position as me walk into his boss's room and basically say, if you don't raise my salary by this amount, then I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even a conversation. And then the other
Mm-hmm.
guy was just like, wait, calm down.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do it. And I just wondered, like, what if little old Black Raina, right, was like, if y'all don't do this, he would have looked at me like, okay. You know, it's so, when thinking about race and gender and that intersection there, it's just, there's so much at play. And that's why I feel like it's so important for us to really advocate for ourselves and to really be armed with the knowledge of just how powerful we are once we can come in there and know how to demand what we're worth. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that was especially coming from Atlanta, because that was at that point, I was up for a new position or a high level position, and that position was given to the relative of one of the execs who didn't have as much experience, but somehow he still got that position and got paid more than me. So after that, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and ask for what I'm worth, and let the chips fall where they may.
So around this time, you were getting your corporate experience in, but you mentioned earlier you always still wanted to be an entrepreneur and you wanted to build something for yourself. When did you start getting the rumblings that maybe you could build something that would be of value to others?
So I had thought about a number of ideas. When I was in college, I always thought I would do I knew I wanted to be a social entrepreneur, or do something to help someone or somebody's. When I was in college, I thought that it would be some type of an organization or a for-profit for cancer survivors or their families or something to that effect. It wasn't until I had graduated and I was at Atlantic and I started, coming up with the idea for Official Black Wall Street. And even then, it was still just a resource. It wasn't until maybe a year after we launched the site that a business owner actually hit me up and was like, hey, how much would it cost me to advertise on your platform? I was like, oh, you want to give me money to advertise your business? Okay. So that was where I started thinking like, wait a minute, this could actually be like my full-time thing.
Right. A lot of people don't know about Tulsa. Tell us about Tulsa, Mandy.
Okay. Yeah, Tulsa, Oklahoma was Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma was one of the most prosperous Black communities in our history. And so during this time, of course, the early 1900s, Jim Crow laws were at large. And so a lot of African Americans had no choice but to create their own, little communities and their own businesses that they could patronize, because a lot of times they could not patronize the white businesses in Greenwood. And so this neighborhood just became super self-sufficient and prosperous. They had everything you can think of, from Black-owned hospitals to post offices, movie theaters, and they had so many successful Black entrepreneurs and millionaires. And so it's basically one of, even today, a lot of people reference and a lot of people know now about Black Wall Street and pay homage to it and, try to rebuild that sense of community and prosperity, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship. Now, of course, there was I always wanted to use the correct wording. There was a race massacre, an attack that happened where a lot of the whites in the neighboring community went into Black Wall Street and basically destroyed it. And it was the first time in history where where airplanes that were used in World War I or used in the war period were used to drop bombs on American soil, which is so crazy. And so, the rise and the fall of Black Wall Street, for me, it's a story of inspiration. It shows exactly what we can accomplish when we, support businesses and when we create this ecosystem of, Black entrepreneurs and people who support them religiously. So that was one of the biggest inspirations for me when it came to starting Official Black Wall Street.
And I know there will be people here who have never heard of this, right? But they've heard of all the battles that have happened during the wars in America, right? They've heard of all these things, but this is something that is not really taught. I know I didn't really learn it. I forgot how I first learned about it, but I knew it wasn't in school, right? It wasn't in school. Have you ever seen the series Watchmen?
Yes, I actually started it. Yes.
Okay. And that's kind of like the whole premise. Well, that's like a big point of the show. The show starts off with the Tulsa Massacre, race massacre. And, anyway, y'all watch it if you want to. It's a lot. That show is very complicated and just trying to describe what it is. But it's just interesting how a lot of people just now are being not educated about it. But going back to the inspiration behind what made you want to start Official Black Wall Street, tell me about like the beginning of the platform, because I know in 2015 that's when you had the idea, right? Was it just going to be a website? What were the beginning? What was the beginning blueprint? What did that look like?
It looked like a spreadsheet.
You were just doing a directory, like a little like, hey, y'all.
Yeah. I was just doing it for myself because I had read the story of Black Wall Street, and growing up in Brooklyn, I watched my neighborhood change so much that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and support Black businesses here. And so I created a little spreadsheet and did, some research just to find Black-owned businesses that were in Brooklyn. I wasn't expecting to find that much, honestly. Even being an aspiring entrepreneur, my examples were like Oprah, the names that everyone regurgitates and knows. I had no idea that we had so many amazing entrepreneurs right in our community. And so that inspired me to share it with people. So I just started some social pages and started sharing it. At that point in time, I thought that maybe I'd do a website, create a website for Black-owned businesses, for people to find Black-owned businesses in New York or in Brooklyn. But I started the social pages and it just kept growing. And so it grew to something much larger than that.
It's always, I love hearing when people say, hey, I was just going to do it like for me and my friends and, something local. And then it kind of grows beyond yourself. What did it feel like when you realized, all right, this is getting bigger than what I thought it was?
Oh my goodness. I still don't think I've fully realized that. I don't know. It was an awesome feeling, especially when you speak to entrepreneurs and they're just like, oh my gosh, all you did was tag my brand in this one thing. And, we had all these orders that we had to complete, or, I signed up for, to be on the app, and we've, gotten so much from it. Or even people who were just like, we had someone tweet out that they found a completely Black-owned real estate development company in New York, and someone else who was like, I found all of these. I guess he was a business owner, but he worked in digital marketing, was just like, I found all of these, Black clients or new clients from being on the platform. So it definitely feels good. I mean, we literally have people emailing us from like South Africa and France. And so it's so crazy to me that it's grown that much.
Right. But to make it grow, you also had to put in the work on the back end as well, right? So 2017 is when you decided, when the app launched. What was it like building an app? Because from your experience, it doesn't seem like you necessarily have like the tech experience, right? So talk us through that, because sometimes we have dreams that require us to push ourselves, that require us to tap into, the knowledge of others. So just talk us through what it was like for you as somebody coming from a music and entrepreneurship background to now be building an app.
Yeah, that was definitely new for me. So I don't have the technical background and skills. I really wish I did. But so my first thing was just finding a developer. I initially thought the apps would be only maybe like $5,000 to build a custom app. Yeah.
I'm laughing because,
I talk
to a lot of people on the show and they always say that and they're like, but listen.
Absolutely. I started getting quotes and it was like the quotes would range from like $30,000 to like $80K, which I did not have laying around anywhere. Didn't have a rich uncle or anything like that.
How old were you at this time?
I was 26, 25 or 26.
That makes sense, right? Most of us at that age didn't have that either. Okay.
So in order to actually make it to that step, I launched a Kickstarter and went the crowdfunding route. And it honestly took me months of just like mentally hyping myself up to do it, because I was just so stepping out and doing something completely new, like fundraising. I had never done that before. And at that point in time, it was just me doing everything. And I still had a full-time job. And so it literally took me months and months of, amping myself up like, okay, you can do it. Just, if it doesn't work out, then you'll still be fine. Like you won't lose anything. And so after spending that whole summer in 2016, just like stressing out about it and wondering if I should do it, I finally decided to go ahead with it. And so I launched a Kickstarter in September of 2016. September of 2016. And I launched it for 30 days, and it was the most stressful 30 days of my life. Because I had just started working at Essence magazine full time. And I was managing this fundraiser campaign, which I didn't realize beforehand, but it is like a full-time job and so many different moving pieces for one person to take on. And on top of that, I still had to run Official Black Wall Street, the day-to-day stuff. So it took a whole lot. But luckily, we made it to $33,000. So we exceeded the Kickstarter goal.
Today's episode is brought to you by Clorox. When it counts, trust Clorox. The same way we trust essential workers to provide the care they give to us, our families trust us to give them a safe and protected home. Our community heroes trust Clorox to keep places like hospitals and grocery stores disinfected, so I know I too can trust Clorox to provide my home with a safe environment we can all enjoy. That's why I trust Clorox regular bleach. By mixing 1/3 cup of Clorox regular bleach with 1 gallon of water, when used as directed on hard non-porous surfaces, it kills 99.9% of germs and bacteria. From our kitchen floors to the counters to bathroom tubs to, of course, laundry whites. I know I can count on Clorox disinfectant products to give myself and my family the best home we deserve. And I personally love Clorox wipes because with an infant and also with COVID-19 concerns, it's really important that I'm keeping all the surfaces in my house clean. So I'm someone who uses it on things like countertops, faucets, appliances, door handles. I want to make sure that anyone coming into this house or leaving this house does not leave behind their germ, because those germs could affect me and my baby. When it counts, trust Clorox. All right, let's get back to Mandy. Wow. And was that enough to build the app?
No.
Wow.
We initially thought it was, but then when you're building, because it was custom and it was also connected to the site, there were things that popped up, which was like, oh, this needs to be done, to the site to make it compatible to this. And so there were other fees that popped up. So I ended up having to use my own credit cards to finish.
Damn. How did that feel to then take this extra risk, right? Because at least with the Kickstarter money, you knew it was money that was, it was kind of like a grant in a way, right? But now you have credit, which you're going to have to pay back. So that means, all right, this has to give me something in return.
Yeah. I mean, so I had no doubt that Official Black Wall Street at some point in time, I mean, when I started this, I was like, oh, in 2 months, we'll like make a couple $100,000 and then be good. I'll be able to pay off by next year. All good. Did not happen that way. So for me, I believed in the idea so much that I just knew like I would be able to make it back. So that wasn't so bad. I think it was the timing more so, or the, having to push the time back for launch, or having things pop up and it's like, okay, well, this is going to move the timeline back 4 weeks now. That was probably the most frustrating part.
Why is having that belief in the dream so important?
Well, first off, being an entrepreneur is super challenging. It is the most challenging thing.
It's kind of crazy. Like when you think about it, like you got to be a little bit crazy. It's a little crazy just to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Because you're believing, it's like anything you have faith in is something that's not already there. And so you have to be a little bit, a tiny bit insane to be like, this thing that I don't see, I believe that it's going to happen. I believe that it's possible, and I believe that it's coming. With being an entrepreneur, it's so challenging. I can't tell you. And with other entrepreneurs I speak to, where we're just like, bruh, I don't even know if I want to do this today. Today is a day where I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. There will be plenty of days like that where you were just fed up, or you just can't do anything but break down and cry because you're frustrated, or things aren't going exactly how you want it to. Or it could be something simple that, broke the camel's back. And so you have to have that passion in whatever you're doing to push you through those moments where you're just like, man, I'm tired. I just don't want to do this. I just want to walk into an office, clock out at 5:00 and get paid. And that's it.
When the app launched, what was the reception like? Like, what were those first few months of Official Black Wall Street, the app, like?
It was actually amazing. So during that time as well, it was just me, still just me. I had some help from, friends during that time. But I did everything from like social media to even reaching out to PR. And that's where working at Essence and Complex really came into play, because I was able to be like, okay, I know what they look for, what makes a good headline. So, or what gets people's attention. But the reception was awesome. We got covered by, I think because of them, we can. And then it was just like a snowball effect where we were like in XO Nicole and Black Enterprise and all these, Blavity, and even the Shade Room featured us. So that, I would say the first couple of months was really amazing. I didn't expect for things to snowball that quickly in a positive way. So it was awesome.
And, in hearing you say that, I feel like a big thing there too is you had something of value, right? You had built something that our culture, that people really needed. Did you realize, well, you knew that going into it, that it was something that was important, right? But when thinking about value, a lot of us dream drivers, sometimes we're focused on what we like versus what the people need, right? Like, what were some things that you had to really fine tune in just building out the app and the business in order to make sure you were being the most value, you're giving as much value to your users?
In the beginning, one thing that we changed a lot was just our business model.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of, trying different things or trying different price points and different membership levels. And then, this isn't picking up, or, we're having this issue with it. And so I'd say we went through maybe 3 or 4 variations of that before we found one that was like, okay, this works well. I'd say besides that, just with social media and a lot of our followers, you know, there may be times where we're just like, we really just, I want it to look exactly like this, but that's not what our followers gravitate to, and that's not what they engage with. So it's like this balancing act of figuring out what works for our brand and what our customers gravitate to, and trying to, you know, mix the two or find some medium between the two.
Can you give me an example of that? Like, what's something that you thought that people would love and they were like, nah, sis, this is not it?
The first thing this is a basic example, but like graphics, for example, don't work. People just don't, or at least on our platform, they just don't interact with them as much. Lifestyle usually works a little bit better. So instead of doing that, or instead of scrapping it all together, we'll like post a lifestyle image and then you swipe and then boom, you see a graphic. So it's like, y'all, you can't get away from it. We're going to find some way for you to see this, you know, what we have to say or what we have coming up. So that's probably, yeah.
Realizing that you have to do that change can be hard. Cause I know even for Dreams and Drive, I like posting pictures, but what I find people engage with the most are quotes, right? They're like, listen, we don't want to go to your page and see pictures. We want to go to Dreams and Drive. At least like on my personal Instagram, they want to see pictures, but on the Dreams and Drive Instagram, they want inspirational quotes. And that's the stuff that gets shared. That's the stuff that gets saved. And you know, those real levels, those real metrics of engagement. But it's interesting because what I could do is I can continue to post photos, right? But what good would that do, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. No one's going to engage with them.
Yeah. At this point, though, or even now, right? Actually, let me go back. So 2017 is when the app launched. How much has the app changed and grown since then?
Oh, man, so much. So for one, we have a lot more businesses listed now. So now we have a little bit over 6,000.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you. We also have businesses in 10 different countries now. So of course, most of them are in the US, but we still have sprinkles of businesses in South Africa, Japan, Canada, the UK, France, the Netherlands, some in the Caribbean. People always look at me sideways when I say we have businesses listed in the Caribbean because they're like, but they're mostly Black down there. But so I always have to give a disclaimer. When it comes to tourism, a lot of the dollars, I think it's like, there was some wild stat, I think it's like 80% of the money that goes to the Caribbean from tourism, it leaves the islands and goes straight to Europe because that's where most of those hotels and tourism companies are owned. Yeah, we've expanded a lot more. We've also, so we're currently in the process of completely redoing the website and the app. So I'm happy that we've gotten to a place where we're able to level up in that way too. So there's a lot of, and we also have a lot more content. We have more events, which for our events, we've had to bring them into the digital space. But we have so many new things. And even our team has expanded. When I first launched, it was just me. And now we have 10 or 11 people on our team. I forget because we literally hire like a new person every week.
Wow. No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That really is amazing. What would you say then has been the biggest challenge now that you have all this growth, you have this bigger team, discovery is a lot bigger, right? What's the biggest thing as an entrepreneur that you're dealing with today?
I would say just dealing with the growth and making sure that we're keeping up with it. So especially this year, and even more especially in the past couple of months, the whole Buy Black movement has kind of exploded.
Yep.
And so much so that I was completely swamped for a good couple of weeks and had to, hire more people on our team as soon as possible. So yes, growth is definitely, or keeping up with our growth is definitely our biggest challenge. This year, we've experienced so much when it comes to traffic and people, people who want to sign up on the platform and list their business. And especially in the past couple of weeks or months as the Buy Black movement kind of just exploded. And so for me, the biggest challenge has been, running around and trying to make sure that we're keeping up with all the growth and that we're able to sustain it, and hiring people. And also, along the same lines, it was looking at everything that I had on my plate and everything that I was doing in the business and hiring in those positions so that I could step out of it, and, work on the business instead and look for funding opportunities and things of that nature. So I would say definitely just hiring people to keep up.
And I think that's a big thing for a lot of solopreneurs, right? When you make that shift from building the team, I know I'm thinking about how do I go about doing it, because you really have to trust your baby, right? In the hands of someone else. What tips would you have for other entrepreneurs who are dealing with that transition or working through that transition?
I would say make sure that you're training new people well. Because sometimes you are heading over your baby and you might get a little frustrated with that person. And that's happened to me before, but I had to step back and realize, or ask myself, am I being the best manager? Am I training this person properly so that they understand everything that they're supposed to be doing? And so that I don't have to go back and kind of redo it so I would say, and I would also say just letting go of the reins a little bit. I remember being in that, and I'm still there because, again, this is my first child. For me, I had to come to terms with the fact that I just can't do it all myself. Even now, there are still times when I might have a task or something, and there's that little voice like, oh, you can just do it yourself. It won't take that long. You could just, if you do it, then, you won't have to have any revisions or anything. But I had to get into the habit of learning how to delegate. And also getting people on our team that I trust, and all of them are amazing. I'm so happy with the team that we've built so far. So just learning how to trust. If you need to, then you can go ahead and just have 30-day trial periods with whoever you're hiring, just to see if it's a good match, and then go from there.
Yeah. And, the thing that you also mentioned that I think is really important to talk about is like that trial period. But where did you actually, I guess, how did you find the team members? Was it like people that you knew and you got recommendations? Because that's also tough for a lot of us as well. Like, where do you actually go to get quality team members?
So it was a mix. I'd say for half of the team, it was us putting out job applications on our site and getting people to sign up and then going through that application process.
Okay.
I'd say for the other half, it was, based on people I knew. So, for example, I had a friend who did PR and, event planning. And so we talked and she came on the team to do partnerships and events. And that worked out really well. I had another friend, and I just, I would say the most important thing is knowing their work ethic and knowing how, their work style, and knowing those people that I had previously knowing their work style and how they work under pressure and all those things. I just knew that they would be perfect for whatever position I was asking them to fit into.
Okay. And one thing that I forgot to mention, too, Mandy, is that right now you're doing this full time, right? Like, you're no longer working at Essence. You've been doing this full time for a few years now, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the thing a lot of people ask full-time entrepreneurs is just like, how are you able to make it happen fiscally, right? Like, how are you able to have this dream, pay your team, pay yourself, and still survive, right? Like, what were some of the things from a fiscal perspective that you had to do, or that you had to start thinking about in order to make it to make sure that this was something that you could sustain economically?
So I would say one of the most important things was just having a marketing budget. in the beginning, because my background is in digital marketing and social media, I didn't really put that much money towards marketing because I was like, oh, we have this big old community. Like, all we got to do is just post a picture. And that's it. But I think the biggest change began happening when we actually put money behind, when I actually figured out how to run ads on Facebook and Instagram, and, started using Google AdWords. And so I think putting aside money towards that. And then also, as I mentioned before, just testing our model out and seeing what people would gravitate to. So we would test one model, for example, subscription with, these 3 different levels, these 4 different levels, and then testing it to see if, people were gravitating to it, if people were only choosing one specific level and then asking questions, or, just it's so much trial and error that goes into it. There was one more point. Also, just making sure that whatever systems you have in place, they work, and that people have realized that, well, not that I've realized, but, people will drop off if it's difficult to navigate, your site, your app, or whatever. So making sure that whatever systems you have in place to take people's money, it is functioning and it's working.
Okay. Yeah. So all this stuff was able to actually help you increase your bottom line so that you were sustaining yourself, that you could sustain and continue to do this full time, right? Because is that the plan for you? Do you want to be able to continue this full time, or do you see yourself maybe one day going back to corporate? Okay.
No, I can't do it. I see myself. I mean, I want to have a business outside of official Black Wall Street. I want to work in real estate development, and have my own real estate portfolio, but I can't see myself working for anybody else anymore.
I feel like once you get a taste of it, right? I quit my job in August 2018. Some people get a taste for it and realize it's not for them, right? And that's all right. And some people get a taste for it and realize, like, I can do this and I can't go back. So I'm with you on the second one. On Juneteenth this year, right? That's June 19th, 2020. You launched, the official Black Wall Street launched the 30-day Buy Black Challenge. Why do you feel like that was so important, especially during the times that we're living in, right? We have the Black Lives Matter movements protesting. People are really saying, we're not taking this anymore, right? Mm-hmm. That combined with the effects of COVID that it has had, especially on communities of color, right? Why was this Buy Black Challenge so important to the team?
So for me, we had seen all of this growth in the community when it came to the Buy Black movement, and so many people who were, spreading the word to buy Black and to use these platforms and et cetera. But I would say, since working on official Black Wall Street and being in this space for like the past 6 or 7 years, I've seen that happen literally with every police brutality situation. There is always a jump of people who are just like, yeah, we need to buy Black. We need to, vote with your dollars. And then it would usually just die down after maybe 3 weeks or so. Yep. And we saw it exactly in our traffic, where there would be this huge, jump, and then it just go right back to normal. And so with so much talk around buying Black and, supporting Black owned businesses, I wanted to make sure that it was like, we continue this. It's not just something we're doing now because everyone is saying it, and now you have all these larger brands that are jumping in. We wanted to drive home the idea that buying Black is not just a trendy thing that we're doing now just because. It's something that we need to make a lifestyle, that needs to become a lifestyle change. And so I thought this was the perfect time to kind of keep the momentum going.
What has the response been like from your perspective and from some of the feedback you're getting from your users?
People love it so far. We try to make it as easy as possible. I mean, we already have the app, but we still wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to find alternatives, to find Black-owned alternatives and support them. And so we've gotten really great feedback from people, from consumers who were just like, who have tagged us and like, oh, I bought this, wine because officially, you guys tagged it and I love it so far. Or people who are discovering new Black owned businesses that they didn't know of before, and they're actually able to patronize them. The goal isn't just to have people shop, mindlessly for 30 days. It's to, we don't have that kind of money, but it is to, if you are buying something, to hopefully look for an alternative first, and for us to share and promote these businesses so that, other people know about them and other people can patronize them. And so even from, businesses standpoint, we've gotten emails from so many business owners who were like, oh my gosh, you guys featured us on this day. We had gotten so many sales. So thank you so much. And so it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is awesome.
What do you think really has to happen in order for us to shift our economic status? Like, and I say that because, there's so many policies. Like we've had hundreds of years of just setbacks in the sense of racial policies, legal policy, you know what I mean? Things that have set us back. But, from your perspective and the work that you're doing, what's some hope that you have for the ability of Black people to really change our economic futures?
I think now more than ever, we have a lot more resources and knowledge than maybe our parents and our grandparents did. I know my parents didn't have the privilege of thinking about investing their money. My grandparents definitely didn't have that privilege of thinking anything outside of how are we going to, get food on the table today. And so I think us having that knowledge and being able to, one, and invest and knowing how to invest our money, and even having people in our community that we can reach out to, financial advisors and planners who can help in that aspect. And I think, two, is, just having multiple streams of income and, now being at a place where we're able to, where we have the flexibility and a little bit of the privilege to think about those things and to think like, okay, well, I have this stream here. Let me also put aside this money and invest this over here. So I think now that we have the knowledge and we have the know-how, that I think we're honestly going in the right direction. I don't see that, we're moving backwards.
I love that. That's that hope that we need, right? And I feel like that's it's like continuing to realize that like there is power in our dollars, right? Mm-hmm. There's power in knowledge and there's power in action. And I feel like those have been the three things I've seen just within these past few months, even after COVID, just realizing like if we stick together and if we really reinvest back into our communities, there's so much that can come out of it. And there's so much I feel like that people are discovering that they didn't even know existed, right? Like I just found out today that the McDonald's in my town is Black owned. And I never knew that. Like I never knew that. Well, the franchise is Black owned, but like, those are the things that the knowledge is out there. There are people out there doing the work. We just have to find them. So I really am just commend you in all the work that you're doing with Official Black Wall Street, because if anything, right, you are giving people visibility that they never had before, or that they giving people visibility and then also giving people access to finding that visibility as well.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for that.
No problem. So what's next for you, Mandy? Like what, you're building the app. I know you mentioned that you want to go into real estate investing. Like where do you see, the future of Mandy? I'm
very much so invested in Official Black Wall Street. So, we'll be doing a whole lot more. We're currently working on a brand new app and website. And we have literally a rollout of features into next year. So I'm super excited for that. And also at some point, once things are settled with Official Black Wall Street and I feel like, I have more moving room, I definitely want to get into real estate and getting my feet wet being a real estate developer and being able to go into neighborhoods and kind of shape them. So I'm really excited for those two things.
And you know what, too? In the real estate development world, there are some amazing, like, Black women, Black men who are doing some great things, too, that, like, we don't even know about, right? But, like, I know there was this one woman, I went to her restaurant in Irvington. She owns IHOPs. Have you heard of her in Irvington?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Her name is like, I am losing her name. But anyway,
I met her too.
You know who I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
But like people like her, like it's so. When you see these industries that you feel like we're not represented in, and then you see people who are doing it, it's so inspirational. But last thing I want to return to, because you mentioned that, this is something you could probably talk about for a long time. And it's the whole idea of faith, right? Because this dream driving journey is not easy, as you know. There's a lot of twists and turns, there's a lot of setbacks, and there's a lot of successes as well. But how has your faith really been the fuel for your journey?
I would say that having strong faith in whatever you're doing, or more specifically in what I'm doing, is the sole reason why I'm still, pushing and growing official Black Wall Street. Because there were many, many, many days, even recently, where I was just like so distraught or so just tired. And that was the only thing that after I had already cried it out or, worked out or did whatever I needed to do, it always went back to, okay, this is what I have faith in. And I feel like this is my calling. So, you're going right back to getting back on the horse and trying again. So faith in general, not just with business, but in all areas of my life has been super important. Just having that belief in what I want to accomplish or the things that I desire, and knowing that I don't have anything to worry about. That part is difficult when you're in the meat of the situation, but always coming back to that place where I'm just like, you know what, I don't have to worry about this. I know God's got me. I know everything that I want it's already on its way. And there will be growing pains to get, to stretch me to the point where I get to the things that I desire. But having that faith has always been a really, really important foundation for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know a lot of us, faith looks different for a lot of people, but I'm learning that having, like you said, having some kind of foundation to fall back on is so pivotal, or making sure you're nurturing that, because once that starts to, wither a little bit, you'll see the effects of it in other areas of your life and business. So you always have to make sure you're going back to that foundation and really watering it and making sure that you're giving it the attention that it needs as well. But before we go, you can't be a dream driver if you don't have your keys to success, right, Mandy? So tell me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road.
I would say you need a team of just an amazing support system. You need at least somebody on your team who believes in you, or who tells you the truth about yourself, or who can, tell you when you're a little off. Or I think having that friend group or even family is super, super important, where I can go to my friends and they can let me know if I'm doing too much, or keep me, going with words of affirmation. So I think that's super important. I would say 2 is faith, and just believing in yourself and believing that you're capable, worthy, and deserving of everything that you want to accomplish. And 3, I'm biased with this one, but for me personally, it would be a to-do list. Because
that's
don't
needed,
know.
Girl. We need that. We need that.
Yes. I could not function properly without one. So even on my off days, I will still write, okay, I'm going to eat breakfast first. And then I will literally write all that stuff on my to-do list.
You need that GPS for the day, right? Like, let me get the directions for the day.
Yes, absolutely.
So can you tell our dream drivers where they can connect with you, where they can get the official Black Wall Street app and connect with you guys online?
Yes. So you can download Official Black Wall Street on Android and Apple devices. It is just Official Black Wall Street, or OBWS, the orange logo. You can follow us on social media. Our handle is just Official Black Wall Street. And me, I am everywhere at Mandy X Bowman.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mandy. This has been such a pleasure. And I really hope our dream drivers have had, really have really been inspired by what you've said, because I know I have.
Oh, thank you so much. This was such a dope conversation. Thank you for having me.
All right, so that's a wrap for episode 253 with Mandy. I hope you enjoyed her dream driving journey as well as her keys to success. If you love this episode, guys, please make sure you're sharing it with your own community. I love seeing you guys screenshotting and sharing on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you can find us online. We are Dreams and Drive across the board, and you can use the hashtag Dreams and Drive as well. If you want to sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly email updates, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And if you want to get your own Dreams and Drive merchandise, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/shop to get your Dreams and Drive t-shirt or crew neck sweatshirts. I get this question a lot, and it's the end of the year, guys. 5 years of Dreams and Drive is coming up, and I am still working on ways that we can revamp the content of the show in 2021, but I need to hear from you. I want to make sure that we have all the hot guests, people with great dream driving stories on my radar. So if you know someone, or if you are somebody who wants to pitch your story, go to dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. That's dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 254. Bye, guys.